Hi, I'm the director of these no-budget piece of crap, silly but fun, enjoyable, watchable action movies that you see on my YouTube channel. They were made during the time when I was not working or just happened to be off my days off from work, and pretty much I've been doing that since then. I've been trying to see if I can make a career out of it, but sadly, part of me really wishes my first film was good. The first film that you're about to watch right now is called Sonic Begins. This was my first attempt of trying to tell a story, or try to improvise with a story. Me being a couple of days born, actually. My name is Alexander Holliday. I'm a director slash actor slash producer, writer, editor, and fight choreographer, and sometimes music creator, sometimes. Alright, it started when I was back graduating from high school. I discovered what YouTube was while in my last final year of high school. So it interested me a lot. So basically what wound up happening after high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do as, even at the age of 18 during the time. My original dream was to pursue being a police officer, but then finding out how much it's going to cost for me to be a police officer and how much it's going to take for me to be a police officer, and the amount of money and a lot of saving and a lot of other things. So I said to myself, maybe I should be a police officer. Maybe I should try to think of something else I could do. But at the age of 19, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. I said maybe I'll make videos. Maybe I'll want to be a firefighter. Maybe I want to, maybe be a pharmacist. But being a pharmacist means you have to go to doctor school to be a doctor. But I said to myself, I wanted to do a security job during that time. But then they said, well, do you have police experience? And I was like, no. Then that's not how it works, sir. So, either way, so really, 19 years old during the time, I was not in a good spot. Some of my ideas I could have pursued, but I could have pursued them the right way, or the necessarily way. But then later realizing, I said that one fateful day, realizing a couple other things. Being a cop is not going to happen. Being a cop is definitely not going to happen. So the time I turned 20, I finally said to myself, you know what? I know what I want to do in my life. I want to make videos. But what kind of videos? So this was during the time of YouTube being a huge thing back in the 2007 era. Then later moving into the 2008 era, where YouTube was now the most popular thing, getting popular as fast as possible. I mean, really fast as possible. So during April of 2008, I made my first account. My first account was called Vertical Spy 16. Vertical Spy 16 was called. But then later, this was like those earlier times where YouTube was kind of removing videos for no apparent reason, or was moving channels for no apparent reason. So, So unfortunately, that account got removed because I didn't do certain things I was supposed to do with the account. this was the early stage of YouTube, so it was a little complicated back then. So I went on to, on May 30th, April 30th, 2008, I made my first account. I had to rename it. I went from Vertical Spy 16 to Vertical Spy 17. So that's why my account still exists and why it's still on the internet even as of right now. So I made video after video. When I got my camera that Christmas of 2008, I decided, well, I have it. I have a camera. I may not have software or editing gear to use, but I had what I needed to use. So that's why some of my earlier videos weren't, well, they were only shot in the camera. There was no editing, there was no way to me to add, like subtitles or anything like that, or even a title screen. So I didn't have that. But I did have something that sort of came with it. So during the year of, I believe, 2011, I got my first my own laptop. And believe me, I love that damn thing. So really, when I got my first laptop, that's when I was able to make videos. I had a different account called Spyboy Film. Don't look for it. There's some videos on there, but don't even bother looking for the rest of them. There's only 3 videos on that channel. Just 3. But anyways, so during 2012, I decided, heck, if I can frickin' make a video with, because this is when I discovered I had Windows Movie Maker. So I had Windows Movie Maker during the time, but when I first discovered it, like, hey, I can add music, add subtitles, and add, a title screen, and add credits. So this was perfect. It was beautifully perfect during the time. So I decided, well, why not use this? Make my first movie. So with that software I was using, I was still making movies with it. I was still making my movies with it. I made little Lego Man movies on the Spyboy Film channel. Yeah, because that was the best way I can, learn how to set a scene, how to put people in it, and how to, do what I can possibly do. It was all stop motion. So during the time, I just felt the need. Stop motion isn't quite used quite that often, but I would like to utilize it to make it more interesting for people to see. For my first movie, and yes, I'm going to get to the point, I didn't know how to edit with the software. Now, like I said, I know how to use music, titles, but cutting a scene is what I didn't really know how to do. So the first scene I shot for Sonic Begins. That was the first thing I shot was the opening. So Damien was my camera person. We picked a spot in the area where we could film. So we were able to utilize that area. We were able to film what we were supposed to film. Then I kind of moved on to other scenes. Like for the credits, I shot in location of certain parts of the city of Boston. I filmed literally in certain parts that you might want to be more careful at, filming in some parts. So I filmed that for the opening credits. The first fight scene I shot was with Nate. Nate was able to be one of my, fighting actors for the film. My sister Sade, she was my she was our camera person. She did an incredible job with the camera work. I'm gonna be honest with you, we didn't quite knew what we were doing. We were just we weren't really coming up with the best fight scenes of all time. I wanted to kind of be giving my own style of how I want the fight choreography to turn out, and didn't come out exactly as I hoped. We did the best we could, but it just seemed like we were just kind of playing around with each other, not really trying to make a good fight scene. It was pretty much the first fight scene we shot.
Hey, what's going on? This is Nate. It's been a pleasure, working with Al. Definitely taught me a lot of things. Videographer as well, or director, I should say. It's amazing how you start for someone small and then end up in such a bigger role. I first started as one of the chameleons, as one of those people, and it definitely changed up my perspective of seeing things a little bit differently, especially when it comes to being a live action, some sort of, and some animation where I used to be definitely a big fan of the first movie that I did with them. It was one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite shows actually, so it was definitely an honor to be a part of that. To even be in the second part was definitely something, it was definitely got me surprised, and to have me a big main role like that, as the Shadow the Hedgehog, it definitely opened more doors of seeing other things and avenues and trying things new, so it definitely was helpful.
So it was really great working with Alex. It was a lot of fun. Alex picked a lot of really great locations to film, plus also working with him. He has really great direction, and also he has really great, it's really great working with him on the story of the films. Really definitely recommend working with him in the future.
So the fight scene we shot, well, we had Tyson with us. He was barking, if you've seen most of the scenes where you're like, is that a dog barking? So either way, Blue Blur, Eggman's Revenge, we did it a little bit more, the fight scenes were a little bit more better only with me and Nate. But unfortunately for the rest of the scenes in Sonic Begins, didn't come out exactly as I hoped, unfortunately. So unfortunately, we filmed the scene I had to film 3 or 4 nights to film was me and Abraham's scene near the spot at where it used to be Marshall's. Marshall's is where I used to work at, and if you don't believe me, here we go. Now where I'm standing at right here, this is where the old Marshalls used to be, a couple of years ago. They closed it down back in 2018, I believe, as I heard. So this was the place I used to work at during 2007 through 2014. But I quit during that time. But now since the building is kind of closed, I guess it kind of gives me the okay to basically talk about this, because heck, I'm not working here anymore, so what can I say? So so how it worked was I asked one of the guys at my job if they wanted to be in my movie, and one of them said yes, but was sort of hesitant at that point. So instead, I'm going to show you the spot where we actually filmed at, down right around this area. This looks very familiar to you guys. This is where I filmed the fight scene with Abraham. Anderson was my camera person. So Marshall's, I used to work there 7 years, me working there. Part of me wish I could get those 7 years back, but I did the best I could for me. So originally for Abraham's scene, originally I wasn't really gonna choose him. My original choice was our camera person, Anderson, but apparently he was like, I want to do it, but can I just be the camera person and have somebody else do it? So I wound up getting Abraham for the scene. Abraham he was good. He did the best he could. He was he does know martial arts, but the way how we shot the scene, it was supposed to be sort of a 1 minute, sort of a half a minute fight scene. It was supposed to be a half minute fight scene, but the problem is I didn't know how to edit. So during the time I was editing with the camera, and you know how there's when you use the camera, there's like a 2 or 3 second delay. Like you press the button and it's gonna be rolling in about 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's the type of camera I had. I had actually 2 cameras during the time. There was a black one and a blue one. The blue one had better, sort of HD quality, sort of. But the black one we were using the most because the blue one kind of got broken. The black one was the only one I had, unfortunately. And plus, that's why with the black one, one of the Horatios was, changing for some strange, odd reason. But with me and Abraham scene, I was trying to edit with the camera. But like I said, Anderson was like pressing the camera, and I told him, don't say anything. But you know how you press the camera and you want to say, yeah, go now. And we did that. But unfortunately, cutting with the camera was super complicated for us. It was super complicated. So I filmed. So we had that one last final night. So the last and final night is where me and Abraham are actually talking to each other. We did the final punching move. So he's punching me and I'm punching him. So I kind of referenced that from an anime. But in came one last thing I wanted to film in that spot. It was me running down the hall. Here's a clip of where the location was like. So I was able to get someone to film over here. Well, I told Anderson to stand at this exact spot where I planted to tell him to stand right here. So I'm running from over here, and I'm running, in this direction right here. So this was the last thing I had Anderson Lawrence film. So right here, and I go from all the way over here to the next scene. So So during that time, it was borderline moving from Halloween to the heart of what was, either way, after that Halloween, I was able to sort of put the scenes together. I went with what I could afford with. I went what I can basically afford with. But unfortunately, it didn't come out exactly as I hoped. So that's the reason why the fight scene looks like crap. Now, after when it hit November, during that time in 2012, I had to stop filming with people because one, here in Massachusetts, it gets cold as hell. It gets really cold as hell. All my family members would tell you it gets cold as hell here in Boston after, midway to December. It gets cold. Freezing. So that was the timeline saying, damn, I don't have enough time to film everybody else's scene or the final scene. So I had to stop filming during that time. Unfortunately, during that time, I grew out some facial hair. So I grew out some facial hair right here, over here, sometimes right here. I would shave right here. Sometimes I get some hair down here. So I decided to shave, what I could shave off. But sadly, I was doing transition of college. So unfortunately, I had to stop filming. Until it hit the midway of April. Moment when it hit April, it's like, oh, good, I can start filming again. Because weather's going to be nice, it's going to get better to film outside and less cold to film outside. Then I filmed one of the scenes in the scene where I started filming again. That was the scene where I filmed at the Mystic Ruin. So when it got to midway near April, so I started back in March, late March, then decided to film the scene after fighting Knuckles. I say this to myself, Tails gave me the wrong address. That is the last time I depend on him on information. So I moved on to doing what I could afford. The reason why I was making it more like a first person, moving scene is because I saw the trailer, the teaser trailer for Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. I'm talking about Amazing Spider-Man 1 with Andrew Garfield. So I said to myself, wow, I love the whole first person, view thing of him moving the camera, making it look like we're seeing through his vision of how he's moving. So I said to myself, why not try to do that? So I did that. It looked like crap, but it was the best I could afford. So in came April of 2013. I had another delay. And those of you who know what the other delay is, the Boston Marathon bombing.
The attack appears timed for maximum impact. Just before 2:50 p.m., this is the viewpoint seen by many of the 26,000 marathon runners who are approaching the finish line. The first of the two explosions rocks the sidewalk along the course. White smoke blasting into the air, blowing metal barricades into the street, spewing shrapnel into crowds gathered at the finish. The moment captured from multiple angles, just as the race clock approaches the 4-hour and 10-minute mark.
Now here's a clip of what I filmed earlier this year, and you might see where I'm trying to tell you what basically happened. This spot looks familiar. Well, 10 years ago, this whole entire area was a lot more different 10 years ago.
So my original plan to film Sonic Begins, the final fight scene, was going to be in the Presidential Mall area. But sadly, you know, other things came. Like, yeah, the marathon bombing. You know, you live in a city for quite some time and you never thought certain things might happen, but certain things wind up happening. So, originally around here, they had the steps and the naked man statue they had 10 years, 10, you know, you get what I'm saying. But this spot looks familiar. If that area looks familiar, that's where I filmed the post-credit scene, well, not post-credit scene, the after-credit scene for Blue Blur, Eggman's Revenge. So, you may remember the scene because I was actually eating a chili dog. And also, you know, originally around here, this was going to be the final fight scene, but sadly, you know, there were certain other things that I couldn't do. I couldn't say the word bomb, or I couldn't say certain other things, but yeah, so years later, after I think 2015, during 2015, they started redoing this area, doing this whole entire area, you know, trying to remodel it. So this area where they have, let me show you, Italy's. Originally it wasn't like that. Originally it wasn't like that, but sadly, you know, they wanted to change it to what we have here. So right here, you might not see it on camera, but there's a building right here. This wasn't here 10 years ago. And also, where I was standing right here, they would have the steps, 2 of them. One step would go the other way, and the other step would go vice versa. So sadly, you know, I had to scrap this, and also when the marathon bombing happened, I had to scrap, you know, filming in this location. So it was a lot of temptation going on during the marathon bombing, and you know, the city had to get shut down. But sadly, you know, this would have been a perfect spot to do a fight scene. But really, not around here. I can't do that. I can't do that stuff around here, to be honest. But I can show you where the marathon bombing took place at. Well, I am at the area, but where the actual bombing took place. So, coming right here.
Or you can do data call out.
So, when they caught the marathon bomber, two of the marathon bombers, one died and one is still alive. So, it was like, oh, yeah. A family member will tell you what it was like when that happened. So, sis?
On the day of the Boston Marathon bombing, I was walking down the street going to a job interview on St. James Street. I actually was going to the Dunkin' Donuts on the finish line, where the finish line was at, where the bomb blast took place, but I forgot my money. So as I walked out of the Dunkin' Donuts and walked towards my destination of where my interview was, I actually heard the bomb explosion go off, but I thought it was just the cannon from the marathon being finished. So I put my earbuds back on and I proceeded to walk over to my destination of where I went to my job interview. was pretty much, I didn't know what was going on until I got inside the building. And once I got upstairs to my job interview, my interviewers then notified me that something was happening. Nobody quite knew what was going on, but they were putting a hold on my interview, but I couldn't leave the building. So it was just really confusing at first because no one actually knew what was going on. And they just had us all in the big room, and about a half hour later they told us we can leave. So as I left, the elevator ride down from the top floor of the building I was on was fine, and everything was fine until I got out of the elevator and walked out of the building, which was basically in Copley Square. And that's when I basically walked into all the pandemonium of people rushing around. It was pretty much announced that there was a bomb that had exploded. So then it became terrifying and scary because never before was I in the midst of a situation where there was a bomb exploding. So at that point, I was trying to get home, but the police were blocking off certain streets. So I found that I could do nothing but wait on the doorstep of somebody that lived in the Back Bay area. And from then, it really just got scary because as I looked down Columbus Ave from the porch of the house I was standing on, all you can see was police cars.
When they caught when they were actually before when they were trying to look for them, they shut down the city. The city got shut down. We couldn't go out. We couldn't even step out of the back porch or be at the front porch, just chilling or hanging out or whatever. So that's how we were restricted to. No one is to not go out their house. No one is to not even even look out the window, step out the back porch or anything. Everybody's to stay in their homes, and that's it. Period. So during that time, here in Boston, when the marathon bombing, manhunt was going on, we were basically. What was I gonna say? So basically, what wound up happening is I had a couple of days off of school, transitioned to college during that time, and I had a couple of days off of work. So after they caught the last bomber, we were able to cheer like, "Yay! They caught him! They caught him! They caught him!" So already it was like. We were celebrating we were celebrating a war that happened in our country, and it was perfect. I mean, cities opened up again. We were able to go to stores because the stores we were trying to go to, they were closed. No employees were in the stores during the time at all. And when things reopened here in Boston, it was great. So with that being said, I restarted filming the locations in my where I wanted to film. My only issue is I had 2 actors I wanted to add. It was my original plan for Sonic Begins. I originally had an idea of adding, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, maybe Rouge, Dr. Robotnik, maybe someone who plays Dr. Robotnik's robots or the Robotniks. So unfortunately, nothing goes exactly as planned. So I couldn't think of someone who would be perfect to play Rouge, but I could probably save it for a sequel. My original plan was to definitely add Shadow, but sadly I had to scrap that character and make it be like, what if Sonic's just going up against Dr. Robotnik's robot? He knows how to, figure out Sonic's moves by some discs that he has, in his information box. So in this case, Sonic begins, I wanted to turn it my own Dark Knight Rises. Well, not the story of Dark Knight Rises, but the whole Batman fighting Bane thing. That's exactly what I was trying to go for. So the first fight scene with me and Nate, so I had to rehire Nate because one of my other actors was a no-show. So I had Nate 2 times. So Nate played SBO, so I had him for that one scene for the first fight scene. And Nate played Dr. Robotnik's robots, or in other words, the Robotniks. But for that scene, I had to use Nate 3 times. One for the first time as SBO, and 2 times for the next 2 days as the Robotniks. So either way. So with that being said, we finished during the time we finished. It was literally October. So during that time, we pretty much, I wanted to wrap everything up. So the camera I was using, the battery died. I had to charge it back home. But unfortunately, fortunately, the good news is we filmed the last and final scenes I wanted to film. But I had to film one last final scenes. Scenes I wanted to film was Sonic running out of the park, doing the jumping in the air. And I was actually able to get Damien for more scenes to play Dr. Robotnik. So his last scene I filmed with him was him hiding behind a tree. But let this explain.
Right here was the last and final shot that I took. Me jumping in the air with my fist up in the air. I could have done the freeze frame thing where I just do how Sonic does in the games, but didn't have the budget for that. And right over here, this is where Damien was hiding from Sonic. Well, Damien's Dr. Robotnik. Sorry. So pretty much, he was kind of complaining, saying, "Alex, I kind of look creepy hiding behind there." I told him, "Well, you're playing Dr. Robotnik, you're not playing Mr. Fluffy Pants or whatever." So, I think this might not be the same tree. I don't know, maybe they changed it, but it was a lot more thicker than before. But this was the area where we filmed. I'm going to go into more details. The first final fight, and the last time I filmed here was, actually no, I've been filming here quite some time. Matter of fact, loads of times.
So with that being said, well, this film didn't come out exactly as I hope. But I know most of you are probably saying, well, it was your first movie. You didn't know how to do certain things. You thought you knew how to do certain things, but you wanted it to be your own type of style. So sadly, if it didn't come out exactly as you hope, don't worry, dude. You can try again better next time. So, I really, after making the first movie of my whole entire life, I said to myself, make it better in the next one. Make it 100% better in the next one. Make it 100% better. Do whatever it is you can. Go to where you can afford to film certain things. and go to find who you can afford to do certain things. And if you can't afford them, you can't afford them. But if you can't get whoever it is you want to get, well, you can afford them, and that's it. So that's why most of my films I wound up getting better. After I did after doing Sonic Begins, doing Blue Blur, Eggman's Revenge, I got better at making movies. I felt like I got better. Part of me was like, well, you did that scene a little better. The fight scenes with me and Nate in the second film, well, we could have done a better job, and we could have found a better spot to film at. Blue Blur Strikes Back. That's when I got my place here. That's when I wound up, getting a new camera, a new computer, better software, and better special effects in my movies. So that's why if some of you are like, well, this is your first film, you did the best you could. But part of me was like, maybe that's true. Maybe that's 100% true that I could have done a better job at making this movie. But heck, you can't expect greatness right away. You gotta work hard. You gotta plan it perfectly. Have a plan of what you want to do and how you want to do it. That's the reason why most of my films, I try to have a plan, who I can afford, who I can add. Sometimes your vision may not be exactly as you hoped, but you still did it. And sometimes, if it didn't come out exactly as you hoped, well, you can always try better. Or, in other words, do some reshoots, which would be more stressful. But
They say, why can't I just go back and reshoot some of these scenes, during the time? Well, when we got done filming the Sonic versus Knuckles fight scene, unfortunately, nature took its toll. When I mean nature took its toll, it got freaking colder. Like, below 40. Very below 40. So unfortunately, we had to stop filming until it gets a lot warmer. And also we had to stop doing certain things, so I had to stop filming. And also, I was doing some college stuff during the time. So that's why it took a year and 4 months to get made, basically. Yeah.
that's why I said this film was a nightmare when I was first working on it. And it wasn't because it could be because I didn't have a stunt coordinator, a fight choreographer, or an actual real producer to produce my movie. So producing my own movies on my own channel, that's exactly what I enjoy doing. Showing my idea on camera or my idea on the vision. So whatever it is I vision, I always try to do it as best as I can. It doesn't come out exactly as I hope or exactly as I expected. It's what you can afford, it's what you can do. So I learned a lot about making movies in my younger times. And now since I'm a little bit older and a little bit more getting better at making movies, I do want to take it up a much a notch on making movies great. Meaning I do want to make real movies. I still like making my short films, but I want to broaden my horizon, like show what I've learned, get people I can afford to get an actual real camera crew, get an actual real stunt choreographer, a real DP, a real, well, just I want to do things better in my movies. Will it be groundbreaking? Well, it only depends. Will it be something I've always wanted to do? Well, it depends what I want to do. But if it's something that people are expecting me to do, or if it's something that I'm expecting myself to do, you know, I don't know, to be honest. But I know for one thing, I have a lot of great ideas I want to do in the future. And I have a lot of great ideas of what I want to do for the last and final Sonic fan film I wanted to do. But either way, if you felt this story was me getting my family members and also telling you what it was like working on my first film, well, just so you know, me working on my first film was a nightmare, but I got better. I learned what not to do, what I have to do, and what I need to do in movies. So like I said, making a movie is not an easy task, and making a movie means you have to work really hard. So, with that being said, Alex Holliday, outro.